When I was 11, my parents got me a very own laptop. I unwrapped the cover, hit the power button and the OS booted up. Later, this became my buddy in whatever I did. As I looked at how much my life had become dependent on the laptop in just a couple of years, I tried to visualize the bigger picture of it. Today, handwritten letters are replaced with emails, physical stores are replaced with web stores, and the list goes on. Furthermore, this talk would not have been possible without technology. For a 13-year-old me, this was something that completely blew my mind. My curiosity made me look up how technology actually works, and I came across a new term, coding. The first few days of searching the word coding were rough and overwhelming. All I could see were complex tutorials and forum posts that went straight over my head. Even though I didn't understand much of what was going on, it was love at first sight. Every day, I would head onto the internet to find ways to get a programming language up and running on my computer. The first programming language I decided to learn was C. Then, I decided to make my very first program, a Hello World program. For those of you who don't know what this means, this is basically a program to display the message Hello World. This is what the program looked like. Just a spoiler, this program won't work and you'll soon see why. When I ran the program, I was given 2 errors. This is what the error log looked like. I know, it looks really cryptic and at that time I had no idea what the errors even meant. Initially I was confused. I had never seen something like this in my entire life. Then the level of confusion decreased and the level of frustration increased. This was because it took me 3 hours or so installing all the necessary software correctly, and something like this was the last thing I wanted to see. This taught me my first life lesson that errors in programming and setbacks in life are actually quite similar. The code is what you want to do in life, the errors are the setbacks, and cryptic messages are basically people trying to give advice. In whatever we do in life, we do some mistakes, and whenever we do some mistakes, people around us try to give us some advice, relevant, irrelevant, constructive, or completely demotivating. To work over these mistakes, all we have to do is identify the constructive feedback given by others and work on it the next time. Just after a few days, I realized I could simply search the error online. So I typed in the error code into Google and turns out it was a fairly common mistake made by beginners. I found a good website and I fixed my program, and my program worked. Let me introduce you to a key term in programming, syntax. Syntax is basically the spelling and grammar of programming languages. Whenever I made a mistake, I remember the syntax that caused the mistake. This ensured that I never made the same mistake again. Again, this is quite symbolic of life, and this taught me a second life lesson. And once you do a mistake in life, you usually don't repeat it again. This is because the cause of the mistake is stored in your mind, and your brain prompts you not to do the same mistake again, and until you don't do it again. Then I decided to make more complex programs, and one day I was greeted with 17 errors. Yes, 17. This is what the error log looked like. Initially I was confused as usual, but then this time I was a bit smarter. I searched the error online quicker, and I was given a crucial tip. Always enter the first error prompted to you. So I scrolled to the top of the error log, and it turns out that I had missed one crucial part of the code. So when I added that piece of code back into my program, it solved all the errors. Imagine this, solving one error solved all the errors that followed. This taught my third life lesson, that once you do a mistake in life, you are prone to more mistakes in the future. But if you don't do the initial mistake, then you head to a completely different path in life, and you're less prone to do more mistakes. I know you really can't go back in time to solve the mistakes that you did, but what you can do is be more thoughtful about your decisions. Think in the future, how will my current decision affect me? Will it be beneficial to me, or will it be harmful to me? Ask yourself this question every time you do it, and then take the decision. Then I made more programs, and I learned my fourth life lesson, that errors are actually really important. You see, if I hadn't encountered the errors in the first place, I wouldn't have known how to solve them. Errors are not there to demotivate you, they are there to make you learn. The learning aspect of errors is much more important than the temporary sadness that it causes. Furthermore, errors are temporary. Nothing in this world is permanent. Nothing. Most of the errors can be fixed with a growth mindset. Steve Jobs once said that everybody should learn how to program a computer because it teaches you how to think. And I can assure you that it does. Let me narrate a day in the life of a programmer. You head back home, you switch on your computer, you bring up your text editor, and you start typing your code. Then you run your program and you get errors. This is where the real fun begins. It's like a cat and mouse game. You solve one error, another one pops up, you solve that one, another one pops up, and this continues. Then you reach a point where you just can't solve one error. you're about to pull your hair out with frustration, and you feel that you should stop programming and do what you're doing in life. Then with the corner of your eye you see, oh, I missed a line of code. So you add that line of code back in and the program works. This gives you this immense joy, and I still live for the joy it gives me. Now you may be wondering, what can I learn from programming? How will it be beneficial to me in the future? Firstly, the obvious one, you get a lot of job outlooks and lot of opportunities. But today we are here to look at the bigger picture of programming. Programming is not just looking at the professional advantages of it. You also have to look at what it helps in other aspects of life. To begin with, programming teaches you to look at a problem logically rather than emotionally. Whenever we look at a problem emotionally, we usually do mistakes. But if we don't use our emotions and we use our logic, we usually don't do these mistakes. Another thing that programming taught me, which is not quite aligned with life lessons but lessons in general, is that you can solve a bigger problem by dividing it into smaller problems. In computer science, this is called recursions. So what you do is you take a bigger problem, you divide it into smaller problems. Then you identify which problem is the most important. Then you solve that problem and then you solve the other problems. This ensures that you solve the whole problem in a very good and efficient way. Lastly, imagine this scenario. Every single one in your family is learning programming together. This gives you another reason to interact with them. This increases family bonding, and it's a great scene to see. I'm not telling the journey will be easy. Nothing in this world is easy. Whenever we try to do something, we are greeted with setbacks and errors. But it is the way we overcome these errors is what dictates the learning we get from them. Don't get demotivated, do what you're doing, don't give up. I am Rishikesh Kanabar and this is the Syntax of Life.